Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages. Welcome.
Hello everyone. Welcome to today's stream.
Tonight is going to be a little bit different, but the expectation going forward is this is something that we're going to do once every now and then, or maybe even once a month, where Brickson and I just get an opportunity to talk about how it's gone for the last couple of weeks, what the plans are for moving forward, but then kind of what's been happening in the world. Feels like a lot's happened in August, and September more is happening, and we're going to have a lot of good run up until Christmas, dare I say it. But
oh well, yeah. The thing is as well is that time moves so quickly at the moment that before you know it, I mean, we're already reaching the start of September, and so the issue we have is that before you know it, before you buy any presents, it will be Christmas.
It certainly will. It will, Brickson. That it will. So it's just the two of us tonight. That gives us an opportunity to just chat things through, but even more importantly, engage with you guys a little bit more as well. Great opportunity to ask some questions about kind of our thoughts on things, but also to start. Hello, though. Hi. Hello. I just conscious that over the last couple of weeks, the guest and I have dominated, and Brickson hasn't had an opportunity to chat. So we can learn a little bit more about Brickson tonight too, because we don't really know a lot about you, Brickson. So
sounds great.
You caught us all off guard those many weeks ago when he did the face reveal, and we're still reeling from that. So that's the plan for tonight. So we absolutely need your interaction, your input, and your questions. Basically, there's no kind of fixed time to it. As we see those come in, we'll kind of have a look and pick them up, and we'll bring you onto the screen as we've already started to do. But let's just kind of do a bit of housekeeping, as we always do, and start off by saying this is obviously a little bit more of a mature, more adult stream. And with that, there will likely to be adult themes and references, including but not excluded to the consumption of alcohol, foul language. You know the drill. You've been here before. You know our rules. And if you haven't, welcome to the OPIE-VERSE. But on that note, I can already see the question rolling in. But what are we drinking tonight? So, Brickson, over to you.
So tonight I am drinking the good old Jack Daniels. It's the honey version.
It's definitely another bottle. I think you've been through like 3 or 4 of them bottles this month.
No, it's same bottle, but it seems like I drink it a lot quicker because I always seem to be tipsy by the end of the stream. But
are you just because of the mirror image thing? The hand that you've just picked up your glass with, was that your left hand or your right hand?
This is my left hand. With
your left hand, can you do that? Higher. What is that? What is that, Brickson?
That is a little reminder of what everyone is watching, which is lovely Liam here smiling away, looking slightly intimidating up there in the corner. But
yeah, that was at 3 a.m. after. But yeah, so for me tonight, I have my trusty flask of water, which I have every week. I have my Pepsi Max just to sweeten it up a little bit. But for me, this week, that's it. I have a stag do in Ibiza in 4.5 weeks. And then I have a wedding where I'm best man in 9.5 weeks. 9 weeks. So 9 weeks tomorrow. So for me, I need to fit into a suit. So it's time to... I've been to the gym and all sorts. So for the last week or so, I've been training. So yeah, I've had to knock the alcohol on the head just for a little while until I hit some goals and some milestones. And then once I've done that, we'll bring it back in. Good evening, Stevie. How are you? Nice to have you here. I hope we're on the big screen.
Do you know what, right? I saw an interview. Oh, everything's frozen.
Yeah, you're back.
There we go.
Back.
I saw an interview with Ed Sheeran, to which he said about losing weight as well. And he said he cut down on all the beer and he replaced it with vodka. And that's how he lost all the weight. So maybe you need to get the vodka out, Liam.
I was tempted with a gin and tonic. So a gin and a slimline tonic is less than 100 calories. So I was tempted with that, but I thought if I can't make it a week, that's what I'll probably reintroduce. Like beer is like just relentless, isn't it? So yeah, we'll do it. Get some, but I'm long past Jack. I do like a gentleman's Jack, and I do like the single barrel stuff. But I am very much at this point, which I know Stevie will be proud of me for. I am very much a single malt whiskey drinker. So I only go for the good stuff, and I don't mix it. I do put an ice cube in, which I'll be slated for. So sorry for that, Stevie, because I know you Scots maybe put a little bit of water in rather than anything else. But yeah, I do like an ice cube, single ice cube, and then it just chills it a little bit. But not tonight. I'm on the soft stuff. So be
fair
it.
enough.
It is
That's fair enough.
But yeah, let's get going. So Brickson, we're here. We're what, 5 weeks in? How's it been for you?
It's been pretty interesting, to be fair. I mean, this is episode 5 now, so crazy. It's flown by. And the fact that we've had 4 different guests on, and that we're 5 weeks in, just means that I'm 5 weeks into the year still, or further down into the year, and I still haven't done my New Year's resolutions. So,
and what were they?
I'm pretty sure they were get fitter. Stop drinking alcohol, which, as you can tell by tonight, I have failed miserably. I feel
like I'm contributing to the failures in your New Year's resolutions right now. I feel like they're all me. The reason you have not.
It's not too bad of an issue, to be fair. It just means that I just got to start again next year.
Well, this is true. We all, when you're as long in the tooth as I am, Brickson, what tends to happen is you make the same resolutions year in, year out. So yeah, it'll be where it is, and that time is not going to be far away, because look, it's September on Wednesday, and with Wednesday it brings the release of the 2 advent calendars. I believe the 2. I don't know if there's any others, but we certainly get Marvel and Star Wars. And the what else are we getting? The Armorer set from the Mandalorian. And nobody's talking about. I know the August release was so big and so hyped. Everybody talked about it, but no, it doesn't feel like anybody is talking about that like this right now. So over like Bricks and you, the guys in the comments, like who's kind of heading to the shops this week, even if it's next weekend? Like, who is heading to the shops to kind of start buying these sets? Are people just going to order online? Are people bothered about getting the? Are people bothered about kind of buying it from the Lego store, given it's only a £30 set, and then the candle? I don't feel like right now as well, people are thinking about they're not thinking about December, and certainly not thinking about advent calendars. But I've said this a couple of times. If you wait too long, it'll get to November and nobody would get one. Like, you just can't get them, and then scalpers will have them twice the price. So yeah. What about you, Brickson? Are you there? I know you're swapping internet providers. As you can tell, guys, I'm vamping a little bit because Brickson is having some internet issues. So we're just getting them switched over from one network to the other. We usually do this beforehand. It happens to him every week. And we usually do this in the pre-stream lobby. But we're not. I haven't done that with you. So yeah, what we're seeing, Johnny Brooks. Yeah, so I think in America, people are already picking them up. And America are really annoying for this, because don't forget, we're also getting the Lego CMF series, the What If series. And with that, it seems like the Americans have early access to it, like some stores. Oh, he's gone. Hopefully he'll be back in a minute. But yeah, in America, they have some of their kind of third-party stores have access or have put those out on the shelves already. We just don't get that in the UK. which, you know, it is what it is. But at the same time, it's like, right, who's getting on it? Who's getting it? But let's have a look what some of you guys say. Brickson. Oh, I've lost my mouse. There we go. But yeah, you're right, Joe. Brickson has got to get that fresh Wi-Fi. I don't know what, like, it seems to switch to his phone. Whilst he's gone, I'm going to get rid of that. I don't know why he's gone, but we're going to get rid of that up there because it was unnecessary. But yeah, you're right. It definitely is that. What do you think of the armor using the same head mold as Gar Saxon? I know, Elliot, this caused a little bit of controversy. I know someone in particular in the Lego YouTube community was very kind of hyped up about it. Are you back?
Apologies, I am back. That was that's Virgin Media Internet there for you. It's
supposed to be market leading as well then. But yeah, I think, I don't know if you knew this, Brickson, but do you know how we got the Gar Saxon minifig in the Mandalorian Starfighter in August? And then we're getting the Armorer in September, but they've used the same helmet mold, but obviously with a different print. And there's kind of some, I don't know if controversy is the right word, but some uproar about it. And people are asking kind of, what do we think about it? But I'm not really bothered. They're not that different. And we don't know a lot about the Armorer yet. It could well be she was a Morlorian. So that could like kind of link it back as to why that is the case. But who knows? Do you have an opinion on it, Brickson?
I think as well, like we spoke to, I believe it was Brickson Man before, who mentioned about factory and how much space they have for printing molds and that.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, as much as it would be nice to have a different mold for every single minifigure, it's just not going to happen, is it? We just, you know, they don't have the space to do it. And, you know, and so there's only so many times that they can print a different mold.
Well, this is it. Like I think what's frustrating is when we as Star Wars fans see other themes getting those printed pieces, but at the same time we get so many. It's kind of, where do they draw the line? So, you know, can I just acknowledge this?
Go for it.
Just give a shout out to Stevie's wife. Ari, love, how's it going? So yeah, it's an interesting. But Brickson, we've touched on this a couple of times, but you always seem to get away with us delving deeper into this because we've had guests. But as far as I'm concerned, you're the guest right now. So, what? I know you're a Star Wars fan, but you haven't seen all Star Wars. Tell us where you're at.
So, as far as I'm aware, I have seen every film at least once.
Okay, good start.
However, I haven't seen
Does that include Rogue One and Solo?
It does. It does. The most recent one that I've seen was Solo, which I understand it gets a lot of hate for, but I quite enjoyed it. I think, personally, the Skywalker like the saga and that, and the Skywalker story, it's a bit drawn out now. You know, from what I've seen, we could definitely do with something else in the Star Wars universe, like the Mandalorian and that. And I'm just going to put it out there. I do think Luke Skywalker is very overrated.
Well, I don't know how controversial that is, really, because I think if you delve into the expanded content, so if you go into like the canon comics, like we won't talk about Legends because Legends is essentially not real as far as canon is concerned, so it doesn't really count. But yeah, you get a whole deeper glimpse into him. You do get a whole deeper glimpse into him, and it actually like sheds a whole new light. However, if you're just looking at kind of on screen, there's a big gap where actually he will be at his prime after Return of the Jedi, which we saw a little bit in, when we saw like a real good glimpse of him at the end of The Mandalorian, where he actually really shines as Luke Skywalker.
I mean, I don't think you can say how real that is because, well, CGI could have been better. but
no, but you know what? As far as like storytelling and kind of showing how powered he was, that really served that. But I do think, and when we were talking to, I think it was when we were talking to Henry about this, about Vader, like everybody wants a Vader standalone film or show, but actually, should he always be not a cameo, but like the supporting role in somebody else's story? Because I feel like if they put him in the spotlight, it would dilute him a little bit. And I feel like that's the same with Luke. But I think over the next, like, say, 10 years, we'll see a lot more of Luke in other people's stories. And that'll really start to help to build the legend of Luke Skywalker. So I take your point. I don't agree with it, but I take it. I wouldn't necessarily challenge it. I understand where it comes from. But I think I'm coming from that, having read quite a lot of the comics, certainly between A New Hope and Empire Strikes Back, which really show his journey in that respect. So... But yeah, so I totally get that. And I really agree on the whole, we need to get away from the Skywalker saga. Like, just give us something else. Give us Darth Revan, give us Darth Bane, which we may well get through some of the other stuff. But do you have, like, what do you put at the top? And we won't go through like your 11, but what are kind of your go-to Star Wars films?
Do you know what? Because obviously I mentioned about moving away from the Skywalker sort of storyline, I actually really quite enjoyed Rogue One.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know whether that's just because as much as I grew up with the Star Wars movies, it wasn't embedded into my childhood as much as other people. Like, they were on, but my parents weren't sort of like, right, sit down, shut up, let's watch this. They were sort of like, oh yeah, you can watch it if you want. They weren't sort of, oh wow, look at this big guy with a black mask and a shiny torch. They were sort of like, I
mean, you could have at least had a laser sword.
Well, true, but yeah. So I enjoyed Rogue One because it was very. I wouldn't say it's in the moment, but you don't really have to watch the rest of the Star Wars films to watch it. It does well as a standalone film.
I agree.
And as someone who studied film studies at GCSE and A level, I look at every movie differently.
Yeah. And
so I watched Rogue One and I was like, do you know what? This is actually pretty decent from the camera angles and sort of the different colors and that. And I think it did pretty well. As for the plot of Star Wars in general, obviously every movie has a different plot, but at the same time, it sort of follows the same sort of, these guys need to get away from Darth Vader or bloody Emperor Palpatine, or whatever it is. But Rogue One was different in that, and that's what I quite enjoyed. So, yeah, I would say it's up there. I'm not too sure if people would agree on that. Obviously, Darth Walker here says that he 100% agrees.
But and I really take this point. So, and I've said this numerous times over my time on TikTok, here, Instagram, wherever it may be. If somebody came to me, certainly as an adult, and said, where do I start? Like, I want to watch Star Wars, where do I start? Start with Rogue One. Cinematically, it's beautiful. It hits. There's very little CGI in it, or certainly very little noticeable CGI. You get a very relatable story. Like, it doesn't, you can kind of transfer that story into kind of our universe for a lot of the time. And then you get the big bad at the end where you're like, like, who the hell is that guy? Like, to quote Conor McGregor, who the fuck is that guy? You could absolutely, like, it. Yes, everybody knows who Darth Vader is, but that's a moment where you think, shit, like, I need to watch more. Like, who is that? And I want to watch more. So I think, it's a brilliant film in that respect. And I think from a sequels perspective, that's for me where the sequels really lack, because they have the cinematography. Like, the cinematography in the sequels is brilliant, but the story's all over the place.
Yeah, and at the same time, I know you mentioned that Rogue One didn't have that much CGI, and I think that's where, if they want the cinematic masterpiece, they need to step away from the green screen. And I definitely think that's probably why in the original trilogy that, you know, they didn't have this technology back then, and so they didn't have, every scene wasn't a green screen, stuff like that, and so they were using the world's you know, like desert stuff like that for Tatooine, and so it brought it to life, I'd say, a lot more. But at the same time, you don't really get the feel that they're on another planet, because you're like,
No.
well, they're just in the desert, aren't they?
Yeah.
And I think a lot of places do that. Like, for example, Doctor Who. I don't know if you've watched any of the episodes.
On and off over the years, yeah.
But the majority of their episodes are based on either Earth or it's based on a planet.
Modern day London.
Exactly. or Cardiff.
Yeah.
But
of course.
the planets that they're on, sort of, it looks like Earth, you know? They've got deserts, they've got bloody forests. It's nothing too outrageous because they don't have the budget for that. And I think as well that, you know, like you mentioned, that Rogue One doesn't have any CGI. I think it's probably a good thing. But also at the same time, they need to show that they are on a different planet and they're not just, you know, on bloody in Leicester Square or something like that.
And I think Rogue One's a really good example of what they did here. So they used real world foundations to green screen on top of. And I don't know if you've ever seen the clip of Rogue One where they go into the Imperial base on Scarif and it's filmed in Canary Wharf Tube Station, and how they use the escalators as the scene and then green screen over the top of it. So they use it as a structure and as a guide, but it's not just, you know, when you watch the behind the scenes footage of the prequels, it's literally Ewan McGregor and Anakin on a green screen and a green floor, so they can just kind of transpose everything in. And you do think like how great how much of an opportunity there was with the prequels. If they made them now, like how good they would look with those really in-depth, dynamic, living, breathing worlds that they had. Yeah, it's a
absolutely. I think the advancement in which cinematic technology has had within the last 20 years has been crazy. I definitely think that, you know, because we had Avatar like what 11 years ago or something like that, and that was sort of
only that. I would have thought it was longer than that.
I can't remember. It must have been a while back. But, you know, at that point, CGI was at its peak. And now the people are starting to beg to question as to whether the CGI has gone too far, with the likes of, you know, bringing Carrie Fisher back to make a cameo. The same with Luke Skywalker de-aging him. You know, some people are sort of saying, well, should you really be doing that? Should you, you know, if you don't have permission or if they don't want it done, then why are you doing it, you know?
Yeah, it's a moral dilemma, I suppose. But as I would expect as an actor, and don't forget, you know, Carrie Fisher was actively acting in those films. She would want that, like it's almost her legacy a little bit. I think if you know, if she hadn't signed up to do the sequels and they did it, that would be a bit. Obviously, Mark Hamill was. You know, it was him, and they just de-ageified him. So, like, yeah, even you know, is it Peter Cushing who plays Grand Moff Tarkin, and they brought him back for Rogue One.
Yeah,
you know, he was the actor of his generation. I'm sure I don't know what the legal side of it is, but I think as an actor, and this is me looking from the outside looking in, I think actors want to be part of that, and especially when they're in such iconic roles, you know. I think they would want that. But no, it's a funny one, because I'm sure at some point it'll happen, and then the family in the estate will kind of challenge it and be like, no, like, we don't want that to happen. But I'm sure that'll happen. But I'm all good with it. If because I think the actors would want to be. But so expanding, and I'll just use this as a guide. So what haven't you seen? So thoughts on Rebels? I think I can answer that, but I don't think you can. But what have you not watched?
So I haven't seen the Clone Wars. I haven't seen Rebels. I haven't seen Bad Batch. Just because I understand everyone says it's canon in the Star Wars universe, but for me to see, Mark Hamill or Carrie Fisher or Han Solo buddy, on screen and then go to a cartoon character, I don't know if I can expand my mind or open my mind enough to
accept it.
To accept that they're in the same universe. Stick to it, or you don't do it at all, is my sort of view of it.
Yeah, I think as much as the Clone Wars is canon, I don't think you need to watch the Clone Wars. It's nice to watch it. I enjoyed the Clone Wars, but there's a lot of it where you're like, all right, okay, could have done with. And I feel like the Clone Wars is a lot closer to, or the Bad Batch is a lot closer to the Clone Wars in that respect. There's a lot of episodes of the Bad Batch where you're like, yeah, that didn't give me anything. So yeah, I totally get that. However, with Rebels, and it's just the storytelling for me. I love Rebels, and I can go back and rewatch Rebels a lot. Whereas when I think about going back and rewatching the Clone Wars, I'd probably go back and watch specific episodes. I could rewatch Series 7 because it was made so recently. I could absolutely go back and rewatch that, but I would really struggle to go back. And it's because there's so much of it. There's so much filler. But I feel like at the same time, we can kind of all do it at once. We should all do it once, but at the same time, it doesn't matter if you don't. I think obviously Ahsoka is going to be very big in the next kind of couple of years. Ezra's going to be pretty big. Thrawn, it really adds, those series both add a lot kind of to those characters. But I even think with Ahsoka, you could start with Rebels. You wouldn't necessarily need to go back and watch her in the Clone Wars to understand her, because she's so far developed in the Rebels. You can almost start with her then. But, but yeah, it's I personally love Rebels. It's just cool. I've just seen this. So Olivia Lego Last NCL hasn't finished one movie yet. So I did see that she'd started with. Did you start with A New Hope? I think, or Phantom Menace? I don't know. I can't remember. You definitely started with one. But I would definitely say, Olivia, if you haven't made it through for whatever reason, whether it's just you can't make it through or what, I would say go and watch Rogue One first. It's got a star-studded cast. It's got some brilliant cameos. It'll kind of really whet your appetite for it, I think, personally. And when you speak to people around the table, it's somewhat agreed. So, but Brickson, putting Star Wars aside for a sec, because I think I've asked you this before, and I think you've said you would rate yourself more as a Star Wars fan than a Marvel fan, I think. But where are you with Marvel? What have you watched? What haven't you watched?
So I've seen everything with Marvel. I think I am more of a Marvel person than I am Star Wars. And I say that because I grew up with Iron Man, Robert Downey Jr. from number 1 in 2008 to number 2 in 2009. And I think that
makes me feel old. I grew up with the early 90s cartoon of Iron Man, which is epic, by the way.
I'll have to watch it. I presume it's on Disney Plus.
I'm not sure. I haven't seen it, but a lot of the rights for a lot of things aren't with Disney. But yeah, it's good. X-Men and Spider-Man though, for sure.
Yeah, and I think sort of with Marvel, I personally, don't shoot me with this. I think that there's a lot more to offer in regards to plot and content in Marvel as there is in Star Wars. And the reason I say that because, in Marvel, it's about superheroes. There's many different ways and many different kinds of powers that a superhero or a person can have. And so that in itself there's so many alleys to explore. Whereas with Star Wars, either you're a Jedi or you're not a Jedi, and either you've got the Force or you don't. At the end of the day, there's only sort of, and I understand with Rebels or whatever, or the Clone Wars, it might change that. But it's all very loosely based around the same exact story. And so with Marvel, you get many different stories that are sort of woven together, like Doctor Strange, Spider-Man, with No Way Home coming out soon as well. By the way, we'll speak about the trailer later on.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no, we'll speak about that very soon, I'm sure.
But, so I enjoy it. I think as well that Marvel, apart from the last few episodes, last few seasons of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., it has all been very canon. There's no subjectivity, or like with Star Wars, there's no sort of question as to whether it's canon in line with it or whether not. It is, and so personally, I feel that makes it great.
Star Wars is from what's on TV. The problem is they had so much stuff that kind of wasn't, and then obviously Disney reclassified it all. It's more from the reader material, and there's a lot of people who want that brought in. And it's true. I think from the difference being is it was very subjective Star Wars, and it was like, oh, we want this. And when the sequel trilogy was announced, it was like, oh, which legend story are they going to go with? And are we going to get Mara Jade and all of that? And then all of a sudden we got none of that. And then it's a bit like, oh, like, what the hell? Like, whereas with Marvel, there are so many runs of each character. There's no single version of the truth. There is as far as the MCU is concerned, but it is canon to the MCU, but then other stories have their own canon, and obviously the MCM pulls them all together. So that's actually really cool the way that all works. But I get that. I find it. I absolutely love Star Wars, and I love going deep with Star Wars. I love kind of figuring out who the characters are, what the lore is, especially with like Force abilities and like how like the ancients of the Jedi and how everything's connected. Love all of that, but sometimes it's difficult on a Saturday afternoon or a Sunday afternoon or a rainy bank holiday Monday to put Star Wars on, because you're a bit like, oof, like it's a thinker. Whereas Marvel, there's always a Marvel film, and it's usually Thor Ragnarok, isn't it?
I mean, yeah, I definitely think Thor Ragnarok is up there with some of the sort of, a movie that you can sit back and not have to focus on too much, but it's still funny. You still get the comedy from it. And there's only a few movies that do that for me. So moving away from Marvel or any kind of universe, and that, I think one of the movies that I can sit there and watch multiple times over and over is one of the Cornetto trilogy, which is Hot Fuzz. I think Hot Fuzz, starring Simon Pegg and Nick Frost, is absolutely brilliant. And it's hilarious, and it has the aspect of sort of, crime, comedy, and sort of a thriller as well. And that's what I absolutely love about Edgar Wright. I think he's done a brilliant job with it. But,
love it. Which one's your favourite? I know it's hard, but do you have a favourite?
Well, we can go ahead and chuck out The World's End now, because that just wasn't. That wasn't sort of the best. I think that was more of a, all right, we've got two of the Cornetto trilogy, now we're starting to milk it. Especially with all the CGI. But I think Shaun of the Dead is great. It's a great watch, but at the same time, it's pretty similar to every zombie film. Whereas with Hot Fuzz, you don't get... If you have a look at every British movie in the last sort of 20 years, you don't really get all that many police movies, do you? You get them in America.
Our police force is very different in that respect, isn't it? To like the Hollywood LAPD, NYPD, and all
exactly.
That.
We don't have all the shootouts. We don't have the bank robberies.
No luck catching them swans then.
PI Staker. Oh, right, Piss Taker.
But that's what I love about Hot Fuzz, is how it almost plays into it almost Britanifies. I don't even know if that's a word, but I'm going to say it anyway. a Hollywood script, and then even the ending. Spoiler if you haven't seen it, but if you haven't seen it by now, I mean, come on, like, but the way that it all plays out is like you think it's because of like this big thing and money and corruption, but actually it's just we want to be the best village in the UK. So
the greater good.
Yeah, the greater good.
The greater good.
But it's like so British in that respect. And like Americans must watch that. And I don't know if there's any Americans kind of watching now who have seen Hot Fuzz, who kind of get lost into that a bit, because if that was a Hollywood film, it would be a very different thing.
Yeah.
And it is a masterpiece. I do think though, like I love Shaun of the Dead. And I think it's the I don't know what the runtime is on them both, but I feel like Hot Fuzz runs for probably about half an hour longer. And in that, I think Shaun of the Dead is an easier casual watch, kind of when there's nothing else on. But Hot Fuzz is like, when you're in the right mood for it, brilliant.
Yeah, it's about 20 minutes longer.
Yeah.
Hot Fuzz is... But I suppose as well with that is Shaun of the Dead, you know, you sit there, you see Simon Pegg and Nick Frost, and they're the typical lovable duo. You know, one goes to work all the time and is very serious. Well, I say very serious. It's Simon Pegg. And then you get Nick Frost, who's sort of the lazy bum who starts drinking alcohol at 9 a.m. in the morning and playing video games. And I think you look at that and you sort of say, well, they're the two types of sort of grown men you get in the UK, isn't it? You get the typical 9 to 5s, and then you get the bums that just sit there playing video games all day.
Lads.
You know, the lads.
No, it's and I think, you know, when we talked about this in the past about films and characters being relatable, and you know, we talked about Thanos and how they will kind of do a better big bad than Thanos because he was so relatable and he succeeded. How do they kind of better that? And it'll be really interesting. But I think on the flip side of it, it all comes down to being relatable. But we never talk about your Funko Pops, and we'll talk about your Lego as well. But what is your favorite Funko Pop?
So, speaking of Marvel, all of mine, apart from a few, are Marvel MCU, but we also have Deadpool. My favourite one, I'm going to try and grab it without the rest of them falling down.
Oh, I hope they fall.
Just a great video clip, won't it? Because
just in case.
I'm going to pull Drax off here. There we go.
He hasn't realised yet.
So my favourite one is this, the full convention Korg.
Yes.
He's got Meek in his arm there as well.
Yes.
And I really like this because of his eyes as well. He's just, I believe, if I'm correct in thinking that this might be glow in the dark, but I don't know. But I'd say he's my favourite.
Do you have them all facing inwards so you can't actually see them? You see the back of them.
So I've got them facing these. And the reason for that is because they're on my windowsill. And these take up a lot of space if you were to have them a long ways like that. So I have them sideways. Obviously, when I move out and whenever I go elsewhere, I'll probably have them facing me. Another favourite that I have, and I have a feeling this is going to fall. I'm just going to move my phone, which is currently up there as well. Don't put me on the full camera, please.
I won't. do 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 do.
There we go. Brilliant. Brilliant.
Nice.
So my favourite is Bro 4 as well.
Nice.
Because he just looks absolutely amazing. He's got a slice of pizza in his hand.
Do you have that Lego set, the new Asgard set?
I don't. I really want to pick it up. Absolutely, I really want to pick it up. Whether it's worth the £30, I don't know. But I will pick it up shortly, hopefully.
Has to be worth it for that fig, surely.
Well, yeah, as well as the Korg figure as well.
Yeah.
But,
is that the first Korg fig in Lego?
I believe so. Yeah.
There you go. 2 exclusive figs. It has to be. Lego wise though, kind of what we've never really explored that with you, and I think you've mentioned it in the past briefly, but you're quite new to the table with your newest collection, aren't you? So talk us through your journey with Lego.
Yeah, so I started collecting Lego as a AFOL back in October of last year. And I know you look behind me, I'm going to go this way, and you see mountains upon mountains of Lego, including the UCS Falcon, which is to my left here. But that's currently in bits because I'm deconstructing it. Yeah, you're not wrong. The amount of times these have fallen on me, it's not ideal, but yeah. So I'm quite new to Lego in general. I absolutely love it. I loved it as a kid. I do remember one point my parents, and specifically my mother, had some minifigures from the 1980s, and I was in primary school. I must have been about six or seven, and I took some of those minifigures into primary school, and I traded them. So these are from the 1980s. I was 6 or 7 back in 2006. So you can guess my age there.
I was 21.
But all right, old man, calm down.
All right.
But I traded those minifigures for some, like what you would call Sharpies now, for some pens. And it's the worst decision I've probably ever made.
Yeah.
So, you know, that shows my love for Lego at a young age as well. But I think Korg should have been a big thing. You're absolutely right.
I would agree. Yeah, I would agree with that. I think that's maybe we will get them. I have Lego ever done a standard minifigure and then a re-release as a minifigure?
Well,
as a big fig?
With Thanos has like minifigure size, and he has the big size, doesn't he?
Mm-hmm.
It's like, you know, make up your bloody minds, Lego, because 1 minute he's the same size as Iron Man here, and the next size is about this big. So, you know, it's kind of like, well, what way are you going to pick? But,
sorry, I've just started laughing in my head because I've just heard and visualized Korg saying "Piss off, ghost." I don't know. It just makes me laugh. So, yeah. Got a question here for you. Could Brickson, why buy Funko if you just have the box art facing you? Why not buy the boxes be cheaper? I think we've touched on that, isn't it? Just because you're currently doing it for space.
Yes, yeah. So I have displayed them front facing before, but if you can see back there as well, I've got my drawers of sorted Lego, which there's nothing in there at the moment because I'm doing a big sort in cardboard box over there. But yeah, so the reason I've got those there like that is so I can fit those on my windowsill as well.
I'm not going to ask you this one, but I just want to address it more to the group. I don't even know Brickson's name. So to me, he is still Brickson.
There's only two people on TikTok, and I'm not going to say their names. There's only 2 people on TikTok that know my real name, and that's because I've pretty much met them in real life.
Okay, so I know who one of them is for sure, but I wouldn't name them. But yeah, so back to Marvel. Let's get into some exciting stuff. Before we get on to No Way Home, Shang-Chi is up next as far as cinematic release. Will you be going to see it? Will you be watching it in some format whatsoever?
Do you know what? I feel as though there's been no hype for Shang-Chi at all.
Because everybody's been hyped for the No Way Home trailer.
Exactly. And we haven't got a trailer for No Way Home yet, and yet there's still so much hype there, isn't there? But yeah, I think I'll definitely go and see it. From what I've heard, it is brilliant. The film, some people have seen the release beforehand, and they're saying it's absolutely amazing. So I do think it would be nice to see it. From what I heard, some people said that you need to watch 2 films beforehand. You need to watch Doctor Strange, I believe.
Okay, for Wong, because of Wong's in it, isn't he?
Yes, and I believe the other one was Iron Man 3. You need to watch as well. So I don't know if that plays into The Mandalorian. Not The Mandalorian. The Mandarin, that's it.
Yeah, I think it does, but I think what they're saying is the Mandarin that we get in Iron Man 3 isn't the Mandarin, but that's the whole point, is that it was
exactly. But to be honest, Ben Kingsley plays an absolutely amazing job at being the Mandarin.
Yeah.
So,
But do you think, though, because Shang-Chi is a character who we aren't as familiar with. I'm certainly not. Like I've known him to be around through kind of more making appearances in other people's kind of animations or comics over the years, but I've never kind of invested in him personally. So do you think, and I kind of start to think this is, if they hyped him up too much, we'd go in and either you'd be turned off before you even go in, or you'd go in expecting this great thing and then actually you're like, Whereas because of the way they're doing it, I feel like, and I don't want to say this because it totally contradicts what I'm trying to say, is you go in and actually your mind is ready to be blown. And I feel like it's the right time to do it. So,
yeah, what I'm worried about though is that we're pushing with Shang-Chi, we're pushing too far away from the Avengers in that sort of universe. And what I mean by that is, if you remember when the Fast and Furious came out,
which one?
So we had Fast and Furious 1 and then 2, and then we had Fast and Furious Tokyo Drift.
Yeah.
And it showed no resemblance to the two previous Fast and Furious films, and that's why it dipped. And so what I'm conscious of is to whether, because there's going to be, hopefully, there might be some resemblance, but because there's no relation to Black Widow, which has just come out, or Endgame, or, Far From Home, that it's going to really push away a bit too much from what we've seen previously. And I understand they need to make new sort of, new plots, new storylines in that. But at the same time, the last few movies we've had have been interwoven with Marvel as, Iron Man, Captain America, and Steve and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. So hopefully I am going to go see it, but I feel it's going to be a bit like Captain Marvel, where it's going to be a bit too singled out as opposed to being sort of together.
I kind of get that. I think with Captain Marvel, I think where the two will differ though is with Captain Marvel, she was like shoehorned in. Was she released between Infinity War and Endgame? Or
she was, yes.
That was a bad time to introduce a character, because Infinity War was the height of heights and Endgame was that like final straight that we all just wanted. And I get that they introduced her for that reason, like the way they planned it out. But I don't think anybody wanted a new character introducing at that time, so it maybe dulled off. Whereas at the minute, we don't really know where it's all going. We know about the multiverse, but we don't know where that is going ultimately.
Exactly.
So I feel like that kind of gives us an opportunity to just appreciate every kind of bit of content, and I think that's where like Loki's done so well. WandaVision was could have been very different if it was placed at the wrong time. People might have been a bit like, what is this? And not stuck with it. But because it was after all of the melee of phase 3 and it starts to go off phase 4, it's a bit like, right, okay, give it time. And then it's that slow burn again. So, but I think we're going to have to talk about it. With that trailer for No Way Home. It's a teaser trailer as well. It's not a trailer. So it is a teaser trailer, but what's your thoughts?
Tell you what, it was a shock when it came out, because I remember waking up. What day was it? It was like last week at some point.
It was was it Tuesday morning? Because there was something on Monday. It wasn't like MovieCon or something. It was on the Monday. So when we all got up on Tuesday morning out in the UK, it was like,
Yes. So I woke up and I saw it was probably Instagram or because someone leaked it beforehand, didn't they?
They did.
They leaked it online.
It was like it was basically them recording another device from their phone. It was the worst. Like I saw an image of it, or I saw a TikTok of it. I was like, I'm not watching that. Like it'll be with us in the next 24 hours, so I'll wait. I'm glad I did.
But there's so much going on in the teaser trailer. It's the teaser trailer. It's not the trailer. And we've seen possibly every member of the what's it called? It's gone blank from my mind. But we've seen everyone from Lizard,
Sinister Six,
Sinister Six, exactly, to Dr. Octopus, and it makes you wonder: are they going to give too much away in the trailer itself?
I think there's a lot of misdirection. So, I didn't know that. Mephisto confirmed.
Has it actually been confirmed? Because they said that about WandaVision.
So Toby and Andrew, yes or no? I think yes. I don't know how they've kept it secret. Like, I don't know, but yes, I think the Hello Peter switching into Tom Holland on the trailer of him stood on the car, then Spider-Man and up, like Iron Spider outfit up. Those two are not connected. That is not the same scene, I don't think.
See, what they're saying though is that scene of Tom Holland's Peter Parker standing on the car, that is a CGI of his face put on Tobey Maguire's body.
Oh, really?
Because what some people have done, and I've read quite a few theories about this, is that the suit that Peter's wearing is the same suit from Spider-Man, the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man. And so what they're saying is it's him that they've added it. And they've done it before, haven't they? They've done it before. Yeah. So
that's exactly what they would do, is they would show us without showing us and stuff like that.
Exactly.
But yeah, I totally agree. But yeah, I think, by the way, he was joking. Mephisto was not.
Yeah, I saw that.
But yeah, I think there's definitely a lot of misdirection. You know, we have a lot of the other two's kind of big bads, so it makes sense in that world. It looks like I don't think Doctor Strange opens the multiverse, and I said this last night whilst I was building. By the way, I was going to build this tonight. I was going to finish building it, and I haven't picked up a piece, but that's fine. But I do think if you play the runtime, if you just start Loki episode, like the final episode of WandaVision, and hit No Way Home all at the same time, Wanda become the Scarlet Witch, Kang looking over his shoulder and saying kind of we've ventured into the unknown, and Doctor Strange casting his spell will all be perfectly timed. And so I think it gives the impression that Doctor Strange opens the multiverse, but actually he's just casting his spell at a time when Wanda, because I think it's going to come down to Wanda, right? It's going to come down to the Scarlet Witch and all of that. Maybe it's a collaboration of everything. But yeah, I think that's essentially going to be how it all works.
Yeah, I do feel as though that the whole, Peter interrupts Strange whilst doing a spell is a little bit too far-fetched for Marvel, in that they wouldn't do that to open the multiverse. That just seems a bit too tacky. Peter Parker just trips on a stone and pushes Strange out of the way whilst doing a spell. That's just not Marvel, is it? And I definitely think that is a misdirection.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I totally agree. And I just think like Strange is better than that. Like he's shown instances where he's better than that. So I don't think that would kind of do it. But yeah, it's the whole like, oh, that's Mephisto. Because what we don't know is what we saw, and we've seen this again with both Marvel and Star Wars, where they'll give us like this trailer and you're like, wow, like this 2-hour film, and they've just kind of spread it out. And I think was it Endgame? They did it where the whole of the trailer was in the very first 5 minutes of the film. And we saw like Tony struggling in space. We saw Thanos kind of in the garden. We saw a lot. And like the first 5-10 minutes of the film was basically the teaser trailer. And we're like, oh, so we have no idea what happens in the rest of this film now. And I think it's going to be, I don't know how, it could start with, that Doctor Strange scene. If, it's likely going to be quite early on.
And so, now my question is because, and going back to Far From Home is set 6 months after Endgame, supposedly. That's what Marvel have confirmed to happen. So in that time, in this No Way Home teaser trailer, we see snow on the ground of the Sanctorum. Now, some people are being led to believe that is where Bruce Banner or Hulk comes crashing down in Infinity War. However, they've had 6 months to clean that up, and I'm not being funny, but Doctor Strange is a wizard.
He's got the tools, doesn't he?
Get rid of it. But so I'm
sure he's got like an
enchanted
broom. He's definitely got an enchanted broom upstairs that can like sweep up and stuff. So yeah,
exactly. But one of the things I was curious about, and I saw this on a theory, is that in the teaser trailer, the mannerisms of Doctor Strange are very similar to Loki. So
Yes.
I don't know if that's going to be a new branch to connect between No Way Home and the Loki series, where is he Loki, or whether he is Mephisto, but I'm not too sure.
Do you know? And this is where Marvel nail it. When you think about like how Star Wars just totally disregarded anything from Legends for the sequels, they could have at least been inspired by it, and by being inspired by it, Peter would have been like, "Oh, are they going to go this way? Are they going to go that way? Are they going to go there?" But because they just swerved it all together and made their own, it was a bit like, "Oh, okay." And I get that the context is different because the multiple versions of Marvel have pretty much all been written by Stan Lee, or certainly sanctioned by him.
Yes,
whereas Legends was almost George Lucas saying, "Okay, like if you want to write about it, go ahead and you can do it under my license." So it is different in that respect. But it's I'm like, I don't care. Like I'm so excited. Like I'm so excited for it. Like I love Spider-Man.
Now the question is that, and going back to No Way Home, the teaser trailer, there is a lot of question about the interrogation scene with Peter Parker, and who the gentleman is that walks in and slams a load of paperwork down on the table, because people are making comparisons to say that is Matt Murdock, Charlie Cox's Matt Murdock, who played Daredevil or Matt Murdock in the TV series on Netflix, which I would be absolutely happy about, because he did a brilliant job at playing Daredevil and Matt Murdock as well. And it would make sense that a lawyer who has the same background as Spider-Man, in that he's got all these weird senses, or the Peter Tinkle, and he's going to help him out because he knows that he's in a little bit of shit. And so it would be interesting, and I would absolutely love it if it is him, but whether it's just Marvel throwing us off someone else's scent, we don't know.
Absolutely. But I totally agree, and it would be awesome. And that's what Marvel do well, isn't it? They create all these little branches and then bring them back together at the right time. And funnily enough, this morning, I'm watching series 3 of the 1994 to 97 animated Spider-Man series, and it was the introduction of Daredevil and Matt Murdock into that.
Oh, wow.
The Chameleon is in that, and we've never had the Chameleon in any, like, I loved the Chameleon as a kid because I love the idea that it could be anyone, apart from you knew it was him because he had that belt with the brooch that turned him into people. But we've never had him in any Spider-Man film, like in live action. I don't think it will be. I don't think he will be coming in. I'd love to see him in there. But yeah, they basically poses as Peter Parker, commits a crime, then gets Peter Parker sent down, and then poses as Spider-Man to break Peter Parker out. So it kind of makes them both look bad. But Matt Murdock is introduced as the defense lawyer, but then also Daredevil, Peter Tinkle. It's,
I don't know about that though, because we already have the Skrulls as the Marvel shapeshifters, don't we? So it'll be very interesting to see, because they were in, was it WandaVision? At the end of WandaVision they came in? I believe it was a while back. One of the TV series.
Was it? No, it wasn't WandaVision.
Was it not?
Because they're in a film, aren't they? Well, they're in Captain Marvel?
They were at the end of Captain Marvel as well,
yeah.
But I'm pretty sure they made a cameo in the post-credit scene of, I want to say WandaVision.
WandaVision?
I think it was at the end.
WandaVision post-credit is when she's in the hut and the cabin on the lake.
Monica Rambeau's in that, isn't she? And she was related to Captain Marvel and the Skrulls. She knows all about them. So I believe I'm going to have to watch it after.
Yeah, somebody in the comments must know for sure. Sure, must know. But yeah, sorry. But yeah, it's I don't know. I personally love it, and I'd love to see Wilson Fisk in there as well. And if they do bring in Matt Murdock, and if it's Charlie Cox, then we could see that. But I love, the Kingpin is an awesome bad guy, and I think he really works well with Spider-Man, because Spider-Man was never meant to be the big hero, and like the Captain America, the Iron Man, he's just kind of your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, isn't he?
Exactly.
So, like protecting from that. So it was Wanda and Loki, apparently. So there you go.
Oh, okay.
So
But,
what's that? For one of the Spider-Man films,
Captain Marvel. Interesting. Okay.
You forget about all the post-credit scenes, and then you try and remember who's in what, because they obviously see up each other.
They're only like 15 seconds long, aren't they? So by the time you've watched it 6 months down the line, it all sort of merges into one.
Apparently, Shang-Chi has two, so it has a mid-credit and an end-credit one, and apparently they're both worth watching. They have a great cameo, one that you wouldn't expect. So it's what a time to be alive. Eternals, though, people have talked about Eternals. Do you know what? I don't know anything about the Eternals. I know Angelina Jolie's in it. Angelina Jolie is like, she's a beautiful woman. That's all I can see.
I know the missus is out right now, but you know,
she's back. She's back, and she knows my thoughts on Angelina Jolie. But it's having her in like a superwoman's outfit sort of thing. Not superwoman that way, but like a superhero female costume. You know what I mean? But it's, that's all I know. But I know they work on a totally different level. I know they were going to have. I know about Celestials, and I know potentially we're going to have Celestials in there. But I don't know anything about Eternals. What about you?
I'm not too familiar with it, only because, like with Shang-Chi as well, there's not much hype about there, is it? You know, there's theories and there's sort of fan-made trailers, but there's no sort of real official confirmation from Marvel, from what I've seen, that we know it's coming, but we don't know much about it in the fact that we don't know the plot. We don't know, and I understand Marvel will always like that, but you know, I haven't read the comics or anything like that to sort of get a feel for how it might be. So I should probably do that. But I'm excited to see where we go in regards to Phase 4. In general, I feel as though there's not much, you know, we need to move away from the whole Avengers 4, because all of those characters, we still have the likes of Guardians of the Galaxy and stuff like that. But at the same time, their contracts are starting to end now. I believe Thor has one more movie. If I remember correctly, I know with the success of Ragnarok, that might change it, but I can't imagine Chris Hemsworth would want to do much more in regards to that character.
But we're getting Love and Thunder, aren't we? And next year we're getting Love and Thunder. But then, you know, after that, I do like Thor, but you know, the good thing with Thor is they can just kind of step away and leave and come back to him in 10 years if they really want to. But yeah, it is a tough one. And I like what they did with Captain America, how the character is alive and it's kind of evolved through the Falcon. But, you know, Steve, he got to go and live his life. I love that. Like, I just love what they did and how they kind of, because you don't want them to just kill everybody off, do you? That's the problem. You don't want them to just kill everybody off. But
see, I thought that Steve was dead. I thought he died in Falcon and the Winter Soldier. I'm pretty sure Anthony Mackie mentioned it in the TV series that he's gone.
Well, I was talking about just how he is at the end of Endgame. But if he did, I missed that. I did. If they did mention it, I think
they brushed on it, but they didn't sort of make a whole big deal. Which obviously Captain America, as humble as he is, or Steve Rogers, he wouldn't want. You know, he's just a guy from bloody Brooklyn. You know, he doesn't want to be that guy who has a big royal bloody, you know, presidential funeral. He just wants to, you know. Well,
essentially, he didn't exist, did he? Like, nobody knew when he went back. He wasn't him. Like, they didn't know
exactly.
He was there. So yeah, he would never have got that, other than those who knew. I don't know if that happened. I totally missed that, and people in the comments may know. But yeah, if that was I always thought when they were saying like he's gone, it was more just he's gone, like he's
retired.
He said, they said he went to the moon. Yeah, He's. I did see this. It's been there a little while, but I did see this. But I don't know what we're thinking about this. But like DC and Marvel are the same thing, right? I had the argument in my office the other day. No,
absolutely not. There's nothing similar about DC and Marvel.
They're very different in that. I understand where you're coming from. They're the same as far as, or they're similar as far as they're superheroes and they're different kind of companies, but there is no crossover. They have their own people and they have their own John knows. Yeah. Little girls looking up this Christmas and looking to the moon, and there's Steve Rogers stood on the moon with his shield and all that. Oh. Hilarious. Brilliant. Will wins that one. But yeah, they, DC, the ones you'll know, Batman, Superman, The Flash, there's kind of a Green Lantern, Cyborg, Wonder Woman, the Joker, these are all DC. Suicide Squad, they're all that, but like everything Marvel, Avengers, it's just they're very much in the same genre, but they're not the same. They're very different characters. In that,
I've heard recently, speaking about DC, that they're filming, or they've just wrapped up filming the Flash movie in, I believe it was Birmingham or Manchester, one of the two.
Why do they always come to the UK?
Because it's grimy, it's Gotham, isn't it?
Yeah, true. Fair enough.
But
when do we expect
it? I don't know when that's coming out. I know. Well, he's in the Flash movie, supposedly.
Okay.
I don't know when it's coming out, but it's the UK recently has had loads of stars coming over here.
Tax breaks, mate. Tax breaks. It's that Brexit deal. Boris has promised it all.
Tom Cruise coming over for Mission Impossible. He's filming the current one. I believe he was in Letchworth Garden City last week, which is down in Hertfordshire. But he was also in, I want to say, was it Leeds? He was in a train station, and they had transformed the train station to look like Abu Dhabi Airport, which is very interesting how they've managed to do that.
Yeah, I would never have thought that.
But yes.
Do you know this one?
How the Flash? I have Flash.
No idea. He saves every one of us.
I don't think that's how the Flash theme tune goes, to be honest with you.
Savior of the universe. That's how I think it goes.
I mean, I'm just going to let you carry on with that. I don't know how to respond with the singing of the Flash.
Do you know Flash? The Flash?
I don't. I believe I've seen an episode or two of the TV series, but I don't know the theme. I don't know anything about all the characters. So for me, it's a hit or miss, to be honest with you.
Do you have a go-to Netflix or Amazon Prime series?
I'm currently watching The Walking Dead. I'm on season. Disney Plus, right? It's also on Amazon Prime.
Okay.
And I'm currently on season 7. It's pretty good. I know some people are getting bored of it towards the end. They're saying it's repetitive. I'm enjoying it so far. So, watch the first couple of episodes, get used to the dynamic of the characters, and I think you might enjoy it. But other than that, I just haven't got anything massive at the moment that I'm really into.
I'm really struggling with Netflix, and I keep saying to my wife, like, we'll cancel it, and she's like, you can't cancel Netflix. I was like, we haven't watched anything on Netflix for like 3 months, and we're paying £10 a month for it. But she won't let me do it. But I think the last decent thing I watched on there was the Drive to Survive series, which I really enjoyed for Formula One. Totally off topic, but yeah, I think because obviously Marvel is under Disney Plus, like they've swallowed so much stuff in there. But yeah, I'm struggling with Netflix. Amazon Prime, I was talking to somebody about this the other day. Like, I Amazon, although I have Amazon Prime, I have it for the free delivery from Amazon. I always forget that you get music, you get the Twitch stuff, you get the TV. It's just an afterthought. And I even have on my TV, the remote has the Amazon Prime button to take you straight into the app, and I still never press it. So yeah, I struggle with that one. So if you get an answer, Stevie, feel free to share.
I think I've got all three of them: Disney Plus, Amazon Prime, and Netflix. Not to brag, there, it's how it is. And with Netflix, they're cancelling so many TV shows and taking off so many movies, and they're releasing. To be honest with you, they're releasing shit because they've got like the Kissing Booth #3, which I don't understand why they've made 3 films on that. The first one was terrible.
Yeah.
And people are really wanting them to put new shows or what's the word to it? To push on another series for another season. And they're just not doing it. They're not listening. So maybe Netflix is coming to an end where they can't keep up with everything that, Disney Plus and Amazon Prime are doing. But
no, I agree. It's just a weird space. I think especially if you're like a fan like we are of Marvel, Star Wars and stuff, where they're doing such big things, to then try and get some good casual viewing in between is difficult because you're just nowhere near as invested. Apparently that's one. Invincible on Prime is good. I've never even heard of it, so check that out. Mike is a good source, although I've never took a TV recommendation from him. I trust him, so Mike, if it all falls down, it's your fault. So we'll go with that. Stevie, I'm sorry, mate, but I watched this back when it was out. 12 years ago? Brickson was like 4.
I'm not 16, but all right, I appreciate the comment there.
But I loved Lost, but then it just was awful. Have you seen Lost?
I have not. No.
Oh, don't bother.
I have not.
Don't bother. It's the fall off at the end is as bad, if not worse than Game of Thrones.
See, I haven't seen that either. I haven't seen Game of Thrones either.
Do you know, it's like, I feel like you should watch it. As bad as it is at the end and the rap that it gets, it's still good. It's like cinematography is awesome. The ending could have been so much better, but yeah, I feel like you still got to watch it. The storytelling is so good. Big Bang Theory? Never watched Big Bang Theory.
I've seen it comes up on my TikTok every now and then, and I'll watch it. But to be honest with you, the humor just isn't my type of humor because it's sort of, I don't know how to describe it. It's just not there for me. There's no punchline. It's just all a bit dry. And I know
it struggled towards the end. It was great at the beginning. It was brilliant at the beginning because it was just it was unrivaled. It was nothing like anything that had ever gone before. It wasn't like the hunks and the cheerleaders and all that. It was like the nerdy guys, and we can all kind of relate to that a little bit. But it was very different. The conversations they were having was very different. Seeing like obviously Howard in the early days was brilliant of how he like tries to like schmooze on women using like his engineering and all that. Just it's like that's where I understand half your stuff. But it's just I thought it was brilliant, but towards the end, it probably could have finished a season or 2 earlier, but and I think that's where Friends doesn't get enough credit. Friends went on for a long time, but it never felt like it was ready to finish. Maybe just in that final series was ready to finish, but they paced that really well. So I kind of love that. But
I think with Friends, and what I've seen as well when I watched the reunion recently, is that they all had a good dynamic off screen as well, as much as they were on screen. So you're sort of looking.
Didn't know what day it was, but
no, neither did his forehead. But but I think you need to have that good dynamic between the actors and actresses to understand that not only are they playing characters, but they're also friends off screen as well. But I don't know. Maybe I'll give The Big Bang Theory a go.
So, Mike, this is a really good point. But I think this is one of those things whereby if you've watched it, like I have, like it's that thing when there's nothing else on, The Big Bang Theory is always on. So I've seen some of the episodes countless times, and they've lost that. They absolutely have lost that edge. So I totally get that. But I feel like the first time you watch it, it's like, oh, especially if you kind of get into it, and especially the early days. And if you've watched it, you'll know what I'm talking about. But the Bazinga ball pit is one of the funniest things that they ever made, and one of the funniest things that was ever made. But you have to know the characters to kind of get that as well, to understand how good it is. But yeah, I just think it's a great thing to kind of casually make your way through. You can probably even start in the middle. Like you can start anywhere with it. You don't need to kind of go all the way back to the beginning. So, but same as Friends, you kind of start somewhere in the middle and you watch it, and it's not that well interconnected. So that never
See,
watched
this one here, Modern Family, is absolutely brilliant because I've seen all of it and I can watch them again. It's like Mike was saying, it's a background show, but at the same time, you can just tune in at any moment and you'll know the plot instantly. You'll know what's happening. You have it on for 5 seconds and you'll know what's going on. And I think, like I was mentioning about the dynamic between actors and actresses, they've grown up for the last 10 or 15 years and they've been together for that whole time. And
is it still a thing, or is it finished now?
I think they've just finished their final season, if I remember correctly. I believe there's 9 seasons. But each season is just great. It's brilliant watching the kids grow up and, how their dynamic and their family changes. But it's just amazing writing. It's hilarious.
Yeah. I know a lot of people love it. It's just, I think for me, it's too far. Like, it's too far in that I'd never start watching it now. But if now with it being on Amazon Prime, it could be that thing that I go back and watch. So, and on Disney.
Absolutely. So, just stick it on when you're building. Honestly, you'll love it.
I might do. I need to do more of that, is just build for myself. And I've started to do a little bit of it, but usually I'm on here. Guys, 15-minute warning, 15-minute warning. So
wow.
We've if there are any burning questions that you guys have for either of us, get them fired in and we'll answer those before we sign off for the evening in another week. But that's your last call on them. The end of After 11 series last year. I mean, to get to 11 series and still, people be talking about it. But I think the dynamic is real. I know about it. I know kind of how it works. So, I think it's worth it. I was watching while building. Nice. Yeah, I need to do more. A lot of people just sit and watch kind of Star Wars or whatever whilst they're building. I focus too much on I'm building, so I need to be live whilst I'm building. But I need to stop doing that as much, especially when I've got so much to build. I need to kind of big thing for me was like building to clear my head. But you don't do that and it contributes the other way. So I need to do a little bit more building for myself. And I think I'm going to start my Jabba's this Christmas. My Jabba's Palace mock is going to be my thing over December. So I'll do a bit of a series on it, but at the same time, I'll do a lot of work offline. So, I'll definitely get into that. What we're seeing here. We need coordinating caps on the pair of you. We have actually talked about this. We have talked about this briefly, but I will soon be getting the next giveaway cap from Essential Caps UK. Don't forget to check them out. Links in bio and all that stuff, and use your 15%. But they give me a cap, and I was saying to Brickson, he can actually, if he wants, he can have the cap, and we can have matching caps. We like that. But we have been talking. One thing we want is we have said, Brickson, we want a logo, like something for the OPIE-VERSE, like a brand or something. And then the next step from there is to get some T-shirts or like a hoodie or some caps or something printed up, which is how far off we are doing that. Who knows? But that's the next big thing for us, is to do something along those lines and just put it out there. We might chuck them in a giveaway box for you as well. Get some extras done. Am I seeing any others? Oh, no, nothing. Brickson, one theme has to go, create or Star Wars. I think I know the answer. So go on then, Brickson.
Okay. Do you know what I would say? That's a tough question. Just having a look at my modulars and seeing how much I love them. Do you know what? I'd have to say Star Wars has to go. The reason for that being is that, one, it's much more expensive as opposed to
for what you get. Yeah.
As opposed to the creator series. Like with these, you can get sort of like Assembly Square, for example, you get 4,000 bricks for 180 quid. You know, if you were to have 4,000, and the UCS Millennium Falcon has 7,000 bricks, so only 3,000 more, and you're paying 400 quid more. So I really enjoy those. I think they have a lot to do in regards to the modular series. I think they can push it out more. And creator in general, you know, even from the other stuff like the Technic and the vehicles and all that, it's just so well designed that every set you buy from them is absolutely amazing. And so, yeah, I'd have to say creator.
That's fair. I thought you would say that, and I understand why. What are your, so we know you're working towards kind of moving out and getting your own place. When you do that, what's your goal with your city? Like how extreme do you want to get with it? That sounds a bit weird, doesn't it? I don't mean like that. Big.
I want, like at the moment, I've got about a street's worth of buildings. I want sort of like Brixie J. He's got a whole city. I'd want something like that, but all on Mills plates, and all of the roads be proper brick-made roads.
Pride in your roads and paths, don't you?
I do. As you saw the other day on the group, that it's. I think there's so much you can do, and it's so peaceful knowing that you have absolutely all the control in the city, and you know. Unless you've got like a younger sibling that comes along and just smashes it and, you know, breaks it apart, you can do whatever you want. And especially with the modular series, you can move it around as much as possible, and you can move it back. It's brilliant. I love it.
It does inspire me to want to do I've always wanted to do the Tatooine mock with Jabba's Palace, the Cantina, and then just like a living, breathing Mos Eisley. With kind of things moving through the streets, and get some like the Jawa's hut and build like streets and stuff off that. But it's very difficult to do because Star Wars stuff is so expensive, and those like little domes, the tan domes that go on top of things, like they only really seem to come in Star Wars stuff, so they're pretty expensive. But yeah, it's for me right now, it's somewhere like I need a build table and I just have nowhere to put it. I'm toying with moving out of this room. This will become our spare room once again because we got rid of the spare bed kind of beginning of COVID because it was old anyway. Nobody was going to be staying over. Make this the spare room, and then I would move my office into my wife's dressing room. Don't worry, I'm not kicking her out. She actually has a dressing room. I have to give things up, but she has a dressing room and an office. I've got an office, so, you know, we'll go from there. But yeah, potentially, you know, we'll go with that. But it will, even though I'm moving to a smaller room, the layout will give me an opportunity to have a build table. So if I get a build table, that's likely what I would do. However, once I've then built my mock, I've lost my build table because it would sit on there. But I'm happy to live with that.
I definitely think as well with the creator, especially the modulars, you know, they release one modular a year, which means once a year you're spending 200 quid as opposed to Star Wars where they release, you know, 5 to 10 sets every year plus more that you want to get from the past. And so, you know, all you need to do is spend that 200 quid at the start of the year, and it's every New Year's Day that they release, I'm pretty sure. Yeah. So, you know, this year I got the police station. I got it at 4 a.m. that morning. It was brilliant.
Happy New Year!
Exactly. And I believe it releases at midnight in America, so it is around 4 or 5 a.m. for us. So you don't need to have that midnight release. You can just set your alarm for the morning, go to bed, and get it in the morning.
Nice. Is that not somewhat frustrating though? Because if you're eager, like let's say you've got your own place, you've got a load of space to get built in your city, and you get one new set a year, are you then having to spend a lot of money on the secondary market to buy old retired sets to fill it out?
Do you know what? I don't feel as though that's the case, just because there's only so many modulars in the past. So if I were to get £10,000 now and put it and buy every single retired modular that there is, it's done. I don't need to buy them again unless I want another one. I've got them all and they're there, and then from then I can just work forward into the future and just buy them once every year. And obviously once you build that set, you've built it, it's done. But then you can do such things as build around it. So if you've got a pathway or, some bushes or trees or something. And like recently I made a park just to sit outside in the sort of the middle part of my city. And so you can really customize it with Star Wars. If I were to customize the UCS Millennium Falcon and take the 2 front wings off, whatever.
We'd kill you.
Everyone would be like, well, that's not the Millennium Falcon, is it? But I can't really show you. But recently, if you head over to my TikTok, you'll see I turned the downtown diner into a bowling alley. That is a plug for my TikTok, by the way.
Into a Dexter's diner, but he wouldn't turn it into a Dexter's diner.
But so now I've got virtually two of the same building. They're the same colours and everything, but they're completely different to each other. So you're able to do that. Where Star Wars, if I were to, turn the Falcon upside down and put the legs on the front side, you'd be like, well, that just looks a bit shit, doesn't it? So,
Yeah. Olivia, I'm just going to say, now Reese is gone, you are our go-to TikTok Bricklink store creator thing. So, So, guys, if you're not already, definitely need to go. There is a void to be filled because Reese has left such a void, and Olivia is there to fill that void. So there you go. And on that note, I think we'll wrap up Brickson. But it's been nice for us, for you and I, to get a talk. We talk like this quite a bit, but it's usually without the cameras on or the live stream working. So it has been an absolute pleasure to talk and to include our loyal followers and subscribers and watchers and just talk about things a bit different. So I'm game to do this kind of once a month, but looking forward, we have some big guests coming over the next month. We have some cool names coming in. We're not going to tell you them all because we want you to watch and we need you but we will see you. I don't know if he's still around, but I think he is still there. Next week, we have the one and only Joe, or as you know him, the Star Wars guys. And we've touched on a few topics that we know he'll love. Star Wars, of course, being one of them. Marvel, but Doctor Who. And I know Henry is a big Doctor Who fan, but Henry's a big fan of everything. We've just not had that opportunity we didn't get that opportunity because we talked about so much with Henry to talk about Doctor Who. But I feel like Joe's going to want to talk about Doctor Who. So how clued up are you on Doctor Who?
Oh, I used to watch it every single Saturday as a kid, so I'm definitely up there up until about the Peter Capaldi era. But maybe I need to watch sort of Jodie Whittaker just to familiarise myself with what's going on.
I feel you on that one. But yeah, next week we have Joe, better known as the Star Wars guys. And the first question I'm going to ask him, and Joe, I don't want you to answer this question right now. We're going to answer this next week. Is why you're the Star Wars guys when you're one person?
I know the answer, but I'll let him explain.
We'll let Joe. Okay, I feel like that answer would have been answered, but I feel like someone would have asked. But so there you go. Olivia saying there's a big shoes to fill, and Darth Walker is saying, "Where's it gone? There's a new sheriff in town." There sure is. But ladies and gentlemen, Oh, Brickson. Everybody loves your plugs, so you need over to you. We've done Essential Caps UK, so we've done Essential Caps. You can do the other two.
Okay, guys. So if you would like 15% off your next purchase, use code IT'sBrickson at gameofbricks.eu, which you can get awesome light kits like the one in OP's background there for the Boba Fett and the pilot there as well. But also, guys,
why didn't you R2?
Have you got him?
He's over there. He's not plugged in.
We'll do it next week. But also, guys, if you want a display stand or a display case for your awesome Lego sets, if you want to keep the dust off as well, use 5% if you're a new user discount at Wicked Brick. All the links are down below in the description. You can also check out OP1 and his link tree, as well as my beacons in the description below.
Beautiful. And if you're not already, check us both out on Instagram, because I think a lot of you guys are from TikTok, but if likewise, check us out on both. I will just say I hit 2, and thank you for those who reached out, but I hit 2 big milestones. 850 on here because we wanted to get 850 before the stream. We did that, so thank you everyone. But 1 million likes on TikTok, which is crazy to think a million times a like button has been pressed on my videos, which is mental. But the next big one, we are on like 8,930 odd followers on Instagram. So we're very, very close to 9,000. The big one for me is 10,000 on Instagram as well. But not just me, especially if you want that modular stuff and you want to see the growth of Brickson City, you really need to go and check him out on Instagram, because I feel like, I don't know about you, Brickson, but posting pictures sometimes just hits different to a video.
Yes, it does. I feel as though you can capture a lot more in a photograph, because you can prop all the minifigures or whatever up, and it just looks all that more better. But oh wow, look at the Razor Crest.
There's a party at the Razor Crest. That's basically what it is. So there you go. So there you go. But thank you, everyone. Thank you, Brickson. It has been another pleasant week. Don't forget, next week we're back at Sunday at 8 p.m, our usual slot. The OPIE-VERSE episode 6 is set up within YouTube, so you can drop in there when you leave the stream. Hit that set reminder, and we'll see you there next week. But of course, in the meantime, you'll find us both on Instagram and TikTok. Goodbye, everyone, and thank you for your love and support. Peace.